Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. It is July 10, 2024, and this is the council meeting for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. Apologize for the late start. It is 1:30 p.m. I can confirm at the present time that all members are present, save and except for one, I believe, who sent her regrets. And that person was Councillor Kent, who is not here. I can confirm also that the CAO, our clerk, and our other members of the senior management team are present here in the room and able to assist. And I would like to start with the land acknowledgement statement. We want to acknowledge that we are on lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples have cared for this territory for the benefit of future generations, and their stewardship throughout the ages is recognized. Today's meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and YouTube channel. And by participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, your voice, and your comments being recorded and posted online. As we always do, we invited public input on this agenda at TML public comment at muskokalakes.ca. And I can tell you that in this particular case, no such correspondence was received. I can also tell you that there was no supplementary agenda. I just want to confirm that there was no supplementary agenda in connection with this one. And before we move into the meat of the meeting or the substance of the meeting, I'd like to ask all councillors present to please declare any pecuniary interest that might come up having reviewed the agenda. Councillor Mazan.
Thank you. I will be recusing from the minutes and action items section. As last month, I did declare on council minutes a indirect pecuniary interest with Miller Paving. I couldn't find the exact item, so I will follow up and let you know. And then the second one is going to be item today 11B, the reconstruction of Scarcliffe Road and Markey Lane. I will be recusing from that as that is my road.
Very good. Does anyone else have anything they wish to declare at this time? Seeing none, then we will move on with the agenda items. Okay. First thing we're going to start with is kind of a bit of a reverse order. I'm going to acknowledge that, first of all, we have a letter from the Ontario Municipal Administrators Association. I might as well read that first. I have a copy here. OMAA, it's dated May 22, and it's addressed to the Township of Muskoka Lakes, care of Crystal Peroski, who is our clerk. And it is addressed to the clerk and to council. At its recent spring workshop in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Denise Corey and I had the distinct pleasure of being able to present Derek Hammond with an OMAA Long Service Recognition Award. This award recognizes Derek's 5 years of service and is an acknowledgement of his hard work and dedication to the proud profession of an Ontario Chief Administrative Officer. The OMAA Long Service Awards are unique because the criteria are very specific and require service in the position of the CAO or the many other titles for, quote, head administrator, close quote, of a municipality. On behalf of the OMAA Board of Directors and your colleagues in OMAA, let me extend our congratulations. And it is signed by the OMAA past president, Peter Neufeld. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as a way of starting off a meeting, which is going to be our CAO's last council meeting. I understand you're going to be here tomorrow. Last council meeting of his career here with the Township of Muskoka Lakes. And I know we all want to wish him nothing but the best, and we have got a little token of our appreciation. But before we go there, personally, I want to let you know, Derek, that your guidance and your support through the last 5 years has been phenomenal, particularly the last year and a half, as many of us have transitioned into new roles and many of us have joined council for the first time. You've just been a tremendous asset, a great ally and a wonderful friend. And I guess in my humble opinion, not a warning, but CAOs may come and go, but the friendships will endure. And I thank you, and we wish you nothing but the best for your future. And I think we do have something for you. Thank you. All the best, Eric. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. We probably want to be on the center. Who's over here? Chris?
Actually, the pop and stuff.
Sorry? You want it like there? I get 10 cents for every picture it's in. Oh man, smile. Thanks. You may.
So many of you may not know this, but I'm really uncomfortable with being the center of attention. So thank you for that. I also just wanted to say to council, a really heartfelt thanks for your ongoing, as well as senior team, your ongoing support over the last 5 years. Our journey of continuous improvement has really, we've taken great strides, and I think we've done a great job at modernizing the way we do business. And with any journey of continuous improvement, there's always more to do. I think you're well positioned to do it. And I wish you all nothing but success over the balance of the term. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Does anyone else wish to say anything? No, I'm sure we'll all have a chance to express our thoughts privately. And so with that, and Director Proshi, you were wrong, he didn't cry. But we will go on and we'll call on the CAO, please, if you would, to introduce the next one. I think your report is underlying the work that's going to be reported on by the team from, go ahead, from StrategyCorp.
Thanks, Your Worship. So this report really just provides a little bit of a summary of the slide deck that Mr. Loreto is going to, or Ms. Lahaie is going to take us through with respect to our strategic plan update. It also outlines sort of the next steps in the project. So without further ado, back to you, sir, and to the team.
Do we have? We are having technical difficulties, so we are going to pause. We'll make. Mr. Loreto, can you hear us?
Yes,
And
I
Ms.
can hear
Lahaie?
you, Your Worship. Can you hear us?
We can hear you, Chris. Yep.
Perfect.
And I saw Olivia briefly, but she's
I'm heard as
disappeared
well.
again. You can hear us?
Yes.
All right. Then we're going to turn the audience over to you, and you can walk us through a report.
Excellent. Thank you, Your Worship. Madam Clerk, is it possible to get sharing privileges so I can share the slide presentation?
I do believe we have the presentation on our end. Is that all right?
Yeah, so I'll just reference the slide numbers as I'm going through. Does that make sense? Oh, there it is.
That's
Perfect. Excellent. So Your Worship and members of council, thank you very much. Derek, congratulations on your retirement. You'll be much missed, and we've really enjoyed working with you over the years. And wish you all the best in your retirement. And thank you very much for your public service as well. Your Worship, members of council, what we're looking to do here today, if we can go to the next slide, is share with you the distillation of the refreshed strategic plan based on the outcomes of the strategic planning workshop that we held with council back in the senior leadership team back in the middle of June. So about just a little over 3 weeks ago. The purpose in sharing this draft is to see the fruits of your labor during that workshop, but also we're asking that you endorse the draft in principle for the purposes of allowing further work on building out a draft strategic plan with senior staff, and also bringing a draft so the components that are outlined in this document or as will be approved in principle by council out to residents and to the community for feedback. As part of the process, as you know, we want to make sure that the community doesn't feel like it was a black box process, and that there is an opportunity to input at the front end, but also an opportunity to input on a draft so that council has the benefit of that community feedback in making its final decisions around a refreshed strategy for the organization going forward. So the next step in this process, assuming that council is comfortable with the draft, would be to seek that feedback from the public and from staff, and to bring back what we heard from staff and the public, along with recommendations for any adjustments to the draft strategy for council's consideration and approval in order to get to a final draft of the strategy. So if we can go to the next slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is just a refresher on kind of the key elements of the strategic plan, and what each of those elements represents and is intended to get across. One of the things that is important to note is we're not quite at specific initiatives or specific measures of performance just yet. We're still not there at this point in the process, but those types of things will be built out and prepared for the final draft of the plan, which would come before council for approval. Where we are right now is that we do have a refreshed vision and mission statement, a refreshed set of values that came out of the workshop, along with a refreshed set of strategic priorities and strategic goals, and some illustrative initiatives based on the work that was done in the workshop. And those initiatives will be further, as I said, further flushed out through the work with senior staff, and also through hearing more from the community to build those things out. We go to the next slide. So this is the the refreshed draft strategy on a page based on the output from the workshop held in the middle of June. What we'll do now is we'll go through each of these elements, Your Worship, and I'll stop after each and get council's feedback so that if they're comfortable with the recommendations, we can move forward. If there needs to be some further adjustment, we can take note of that and make those adjustments based on council's direction. all for the purposes of getting to a draft that we can take out and validate with the community and with staff. For each of the vision and mission, there is some optionality in terms of the refreshed language for each of those, and we do have a recommendation from a StrategyCorp point of view that we put forward for council's consideration and discussion. So if we go to the next slide, why don't we start with the vision and the feedback that we've had and the discussion that we had at the workshop. The current vision is there, and the updated or recommended updated vision option is, or the vision statement that we're recommending is, Muskoka Lake's vision is to be a place where generations live and gather in a breathtaking natural environment, enjoying recreation, history, and small town character that is protected and enhanced for future generations of our community. What we know from what we heard and also what we discussed at the workshop last month is that generally folks around the council table and others feel that the vision's right. There weren't many concerns raised about the current vision statement, but there was a desire through the workshop by council to update the language around their desire to build a unified community in the township of Muskoka Lakes. And so hence the reflection of community is explicitly our community in the vision, and talking about today and future generations is part of building that unified commitment or unified community. So your worship, I will just stop right there to see if there is feedback from council on the recommended recommended language to refresh the vision, and or if there's a preference for anything that may appear in the alternatives that were in the package for consideration.
Thank you very much. Around the table, Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Number one, please.
Number one. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought people were on the same page. So I'm looking under the current vision and then the updated choices. So 1, 2, or 3, and I chose 1. I thought that's what you were looking for, Chris. Is that not right?
It was, yeah. I want to make sure folks are around the council table are comfortable with the recommended, which is number 1. That would be the draft updated vision statement we'd take out for validation. So thank you, Councillor Nishikawa. Councillor
Mazen, your hand's up.
Thank you, Chris, and I really do appreciate this. And it's interesting, when we left that day, there was a couple of comments made towards the end of the session. There was 2 that resonated. First was, is this something that actually goes out into the community in different ways and is kind of a rallying cry and or something that people remember outside of it being in this document? And the second comment that maybe not made in the broader thing was it felt a lot like a word salad. Mm-hmm. So with that, there's an importance, I think, to our vision, and because it does shape, it does become a little bit of a rallying cry. And I just wonder, and I'm just throwing this out in the spirit of brainstorming more than anything else, and I don't want to recreate a wheel or make too much work, but is there a way for us to reduce some of the language in this so that it doesn't, but still capture the essence through our strategic priorities and goals to the things that matter? So for example, because of course I have to come with an example, could it be something as simple as generations living in nature worth protecting? And then the follow-up of that, council and staff, and this is where I need your assistance, knowing how this all comes together, will lead in preserving and enhancing the small town character, culture, recreation, but that's not necessarily our vision statement. Like, because everything that I left thinking about was everything we talk about and every discussion we have, it's because we value this place and we believe it's worth protecting. So whether that lands in its vision or if it becomes something that can be incorporated somehow, and maybe I can look to my peers to see if anything like that even resonates. I don't know if this is the time to be doing that, or if you wanted ideas like this in a different format. I don't know.
I think that was a question from you, Mr. Loreto.
Yeah, your worship, through you, absolutely, Counselor. It's helpful to have this raised now because if council would like us to do like kind of sharpen our pencils on your behalf on this and shorten it, we can certainly do that before we take a version out to the community. The other thing we can just note is if conceptually we're comfortable with what's in here, but we want to reduce, make it more brief and kind of more punchy and more memorable and move some of the kind of the descriptive language, I would say, in terms of the character of the community that you really value. We can take away that as note in the next draft after validation, show you how we've sharpened the vision statement and where we've carried that idea. It would probably likely find its way either into some element of the values and or one of the strategic directions, one of the 3 strategic directions.
Thank you. A supplemental?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I am satisfied with that approach. It was a long day, and it was towards the end that these comments came up. And
Yep.
that's what I left thinking about. And so if like I would agree with Councillor Nishikawa, if I had to choose today out of these 3, I'd be going with the one you recommend, which is number 1. But if there's that opportunity, as you've just described, to sharpen the pencil, take out some of the words, and what gets referenced, I'll be honest, is what I often hear is the environment first policy that is in Seguin seems to resonate with people. It's 2 words. I think a lot of our conversation has historically been, of course, we value the environment, but we also have communities that live here. There's more than just that. And so that idea of getting, I will call it some kind of a rallying cry, incorporated into this, I think could be interesting. So that will be all of us. Thank you.
Anyone else with a comment or any feedback? Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also think there's too many words. and because there's so many words, you can't grab the concepts.
Yep.
And the concepts it's nature, it's preservation, it's community, and worth protecting. I mean, that kind of wraps it up.
Yep.
And under each one of those words, the first word is nature. So we've all said numerous times that protecting the environment is most important to us. Preserving, captures many of the things that we are trying to accomplish and do, and worth protecting and preserving. So you can use that vision as a screen for almost every decision we make. And the community, that's keeping our roads and everything all there. So just those key words, we just boil it down to those concepts, then you can rhyme it off. Remember when we were having the big discussion about legacy, and there was a mock sign that said Muskoka once developed, never forgot, never the same, or something. I mean, that's, you don't forget those things. And we need to have something that people can walk around saying, this is what Muskoka is, and build our brand around that vision.
Thank you. Anyone else with a comment? Then I will offer up, I think, just to follow on Councillor Bosenworth. I think if we go with the ones that are available to us here, we'll never use them again other than to publish them in our vision statement. We won't remember them. We won't be able to repeat them. We'll be fumbling around trying to remember what the next clause or phrase was. And I think it needs to be distilled down to something, I won't say marketing-like, but something a lot tighter, I think. Councillor Nishikawa.
Mayor Kelly, I don't have the information in front of me, but I'm wondering if Chris might, but we've been around this a few times, and honestly, I think all the same words have been used for many, many years. I'm almost wondering if we should look at what we've done in the past. Because I'm getting a little bit confused.
Councillor Burry.
Thank you, through you. The academics say clear, memorable, and compelling. You have to be able to remember it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that, I mean, without taking a straw poll, that we probably have some consensus around let's cutting it down to something a little more elemental, a little bit more to the point. How we do that, Chris, I'm in your hands. How would you
Yes.
suggest?
So
Go ahead.
So there's two options, Your Worship. One is we can take a crack at it and bring it back before we go to the community, or we can take this, take the draft as is to the community, note council's desire to shrink it down and kind of validate it on that basis, and then come back to you with the kind of the clearer, the more memorable, and the more compelling vision statement that is desired by council.
Personally, I'd rather have our crack at it first before we take it to anywhere because it's got our name on it.
Yep, not a problem.
And I got sort of thumbs up generally around the table. You can't see it, but
No, that's
I
great.
think we had 14 thumbs.
That's great.
Okay, so we can,
so
sorry, go ahead.
no, sorry, Your Worship, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, are we closed off on that particular issue? Do you want to pick up with the next page, or do you have
Yes,
other?
please. Yeah, we'll
Okay,
go
go
to the
ahead.
mission. Excellent. So thank you for that feedback. It's great feedback. So we did the same thing in terms of updating the mission statement. We have a preferred or a recommended statement. And again, mission statement is just, as we discussed at the workshop, it describes what it is that how you operate on a day-to-day basis. Sorry. How you operate on a day-to-day basis in order to achieve your vision and deliver on your mandate to the people. So the recommended option here for the refresh mission is the Township of Muskoka Lakes Council and staff are responsible stewards of the community and leaders in delivering value and service excellence to its residents. So it recognizes conceptually what we talked about in terms of we are stewards of public resources and a public trust. And in being stewards of that, we work to be leaders in delivering good value and good quality services to residents.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Does anyone have any comments on, there's basically two versions. I think I don't have my glasses on, but I think it's two versions. The top one being the recommended one. Councillor Edwards.
I think number two, again, you want it as short as possible so people can actually remember rather than being too wordy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone with another view, a different view? Councillor McIntyre.
The question I have is the verb tense. So if we read the number one is are responsible and number two is will be. And I don't know why we don't say the Township of Muskoka Lakes is a leader in providing.
Fair comment. Looks like a reasonable comment to me. Anyone with other feedback? Is there value, as Councillor Edwards said, in just switching tense on number two and moving forward with it, or does sort of a clunky way to do this, but does anybody have a strong attachment to number one, or would number two, because it's shorter, be preferable? All right, so I'm hearing not unanimous, but close to number two. If you can change that to is a leader instead of will be.
Yep, not a problem.
I think we're good to go on that one. Councillor Mazan has a comment.
Thank you. And through even, I think it's the same principle that if there's ways for us to cut out the extra words in everything we do, like whether there's the need for things like the Township of Muskoka Lakes at the beginning and just being leaders in providing things that actually, anyways, it's kind of the guiding principle in this. Every word matters to remove.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Chris, if you want to pick up with your next slide.
Excellent. Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, members of council, for the feedback. So on the values, there's the values that are highlighted. So in terms of the current values to be revised are leadership and resilience. We've now have a new set of, or a refreshed set of values, 5 values, courage and innovation being the 2 new ones, with leadership and resilience falling off, but those concepts still finding themselves across the values and or in some in the mission statement in particular with respect to leadership. Courage, how we define that, values to make decisions and actions to advance our shared community interests, and innovation through open. It means we value innovation through openness to new governance and service delivery approaches to meet the needs of our community and natural environment. Respect, excellence, and sustainability are values that are in the current strategic plan, and they remain unchanged based on the discussion from the workshop. So we'd like,
Thank you for
like
that.
to get feedback from council on that, Your Worship.
All right, Councillor Zavitz has his hand up.
Thank you, through you. Yeah, the word innovation doesn't augur well with me. Just hearing, a few other comments, more like preservation. I mean, I don't really know that we're innovators here. I mean, what does that mean? More to the point of preserving what we have. I mean, that's speaks to environment, speaks to a lot of the issues. I think it goes without saying that when there are good ideas around the table, we adopt them, or we bring them to the fore. So I don't know what anyone else thinks, but the word innovation to me just doesn't seem to hit our mark.
In fact, just to add to that, I'm not even sure innovation is a value, is it? I mean, it doesn't strike me as something that someone would declare as a personal value, innovation. I don't know, maybe innovative. I don't know. I'm not sure. Councillor Mazin.
Thank you, and through you. And I would be okay, I think, with that change in direction. I think where this started was the importance of us being open to evolving and adopting new things and kind of encouraging a culture of thinking outside of the box to address some of the things that we're faced with today. So I think that was the value and maybe Chris, you should actually chime in. I'm trying to go back to this meeting. I think it was more of a cultural feeling that we wanted to foster versus feeling like we always had to be status quo in how we deliver our services. So there's new tools, there's new resources, there's new things out there that we should be looking at as possible ways to manage our business. The example being that I can think, and Chris, please chime in if I'm off base on that. That was my recollection of that discussion.
Yeah, that's correct. And we were going back and forth between innovation and another word. But if council's comfortable with not the word innovation, but the description of the value around that openness to new governance and service delivery approaches to meet community needs and needs of the natural environment, we can come up with a better descriptive word for that value. And it may be openness, right? Itself, but that you're not closed off, you are. And I think it's kind of consistent with what Derek was saying in his farewell speech a little bit earlier, in terms of you've been on a journey of continuous improvement and have been open to new ways of modernizing how the municipality does its business and delivers its service.
All right, let me just go back for a question. What are we describing here? Are we describing the characteristics of a municipality and the people who live here? Are we describing the characteristics of this council as it seeks to lead this community and the people who live here? Because I've never really imagined sustainability as some personal characteristic of which anyone would be particularly boastful. I'm sustainable.
So it's the values that guide you and the staff on a day-to-day basis and how you do your work. So the things that are important to you, and when push comes to shove and you have a difficult decision to make, where the data really won't make the decision for you, you'll make the decision based on the values that for lack of a better term, the corporation holds.
Okay, that's fair. Anybody with other comments or questions? Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. The courage to make decisions, I would just drop that, to make decisions and actions. That's one. And again, with the innovations, just open to new governance. And that, again, we want it so that people will read it. Like you just, they just don't go over all this wording. It's too wordy. Thank you.
Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you. I'll pass on comments about innovation, but I really love the word courage.
Yeah.
I think that's a very bold statement about how we operate here, and we should embrace it as we have done.
And that's the kind of value that I think we should be bringing, you know, leadership, courage, curiosity, whatever. Okay, I'm afraid we're not leaving you with much direction there, Chris.
No, I think it's fairly clear, Your Worship. If folks, what I've come to understand is innovation's not the right word, but that openness to new approaches makes sense. So we'll probably make the value openness or some kind of appropriate synonym for it. And we will kind of, if folks are okay, I think courage stays based on kind of what I'm reading, Your Worship, as do the others. And we'll further sharpen our pencils to kind of reduce the word count in the description of each of the values, if council's okay with that.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, you can carry on.
Alrighty, no, that's great. So in terms of then, let's look at the strategic priorities and the associated goals. So this is, we've gone, coming out of the workshop, we've gone from 4 strategic priorities to a refined set of 3 strategic priorities. The first one being deliver sustainable public services and infrastructure. How we define that is ensuring that municipal services and infrastructure are appropriate and sustainable through effective and efficient planning, resourcing, and delivery that matches the needs of the community. The second priority is enhance the township's natural and cultural environments, and that is about preserving, protecting, and enhancing the natural heritage and cultural features that makes the township a unique community to live in. And that kind of gets to the deputy mayor's comment already about words that we're replicating here that are in the draft vision. So there is an opportunity to kind of tighten up that vision statement and still have the intent reflected in this strategic priority. And then the third, and these aren't necessarily in any order of priority, but the third one as it appears on the page is strengthen the township's community fabric. And this is about establishing the value creating partnerships with community organizations and other government partners to really enhance the community's quality of life. So those are the 3 strategic priorities or pillars. And under each of them, there's a set of goals. One is under deliver sustainable public services and infrastructure. There are 3 goals. One is to develop, engage, and celebrate the township's team. So your U.S. counselors all the way through to the very front lines of the organization. And what are we doing to recruit, retain excellent talent and help them develop through their career paths within the municipality? The second strategic goal is around building our organizations, being in corporations, performance management capacity and capabilities, so that we have the benefit of understand, based on, our defined service levels and how we measure our delivery against those defined service levels. As an example, being able to use that data to consistently inform how we continue to maintain service or how we enhance service, how do we optimize service to meet the community's needs. And then the third goal under this pillar is to strengthen our long-term asset management and service delivery planning, and moving from a year-by-year view of our needs and how we allocate resources, both in terms of our capital and how we operate the municipality and the services and programs that it's delivering, to taking a longer term multi-year view, both from a financial perspective and a planning perspective, so that we know we have an understanding of how the decisions we make today are going to impact our ability to do things tomorrow, and that we're working towards some of those sustained improvements or achieving some of those bigger goals, whether it's redevelopment of certain of our assets in the municipality in a way that is sustainable for the taxpayer and delivers against what the community needs from a service requirement. So, Your Worship, what I'll do is ask one question and then go into assuming the pillars or the priorities make sense, we can kind of go pillar by pillar against the goals. But in terms of the refined set of 3 strategic priorities from the current set of 4 strategic priorities, how does council feel about those? Do they generally reflect what it is that we talked about when we met together 3 weeks or so?
No, thank you for that. So we're focusing specifically on the dark blue 3 boxes in the middle.
Yes.
To make sure that they reflect the strategic priorities that we discussed when we were last together. I have one quick question. Are they intended to be ranked or prioritized, or are they equal? Can they be interchangeably moved around the page depending on the audience? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we generally don't put a rank order to them. You could, but we generally see them as these are the core areas of focus. They are peers in terms of the pyramid on the strategy, but presentationally we can flip things around. That is not a problem.
Excellent. Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you. My suggestion would be that anytime we are talking about the natural, in this case, we're talking about the natural environment, anything we're talking about nature and environment, protecting the environment, I think that those words should always be at the top. And so in this case, even though we're saying that the order doesn't matter, in the end it matters. One on the left is first, generally speaking. So anytime we're doing that, I just think we should always have those words at the beginning.
Councillor Mazan.
Thank you, and through you. I'm just rereading this now, actually, and realizing that the second box, the township's natural and cultural environment, we have under there the natural, heritage, and cultural features. The one piece that I think is missing is the recreation piece. That has been a part of our other part, so I don't know if we need twice heritage and cultural. I think somehow incorporating that.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you. Anyone else with a comment? Okay, I think generally people are on board with those 3 highlighted dark blue. And I think, Chris, you wanted to walk through each of the sort of goals or priorities or the goals that are underneath each one. And Mike is yours.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So if we can go to the next slide, then we'll focus in on the deliver sustainable public services and infrastructure strategic priority. As I mentioned, there are 3 strategic goals here: develop, engage, and celebrate our Township of Muskoka Lakes team, build our performance management capacity and capabilities, and strengthen our long-term asset management and service delivery. On the right-hand side of the slide here are things that we took away from the workshop and or we've observed in doing consultations that are preliminary indicative initiatives. So things that we could do or undertake and include in our strategic plan to deliver on these goals. So by way of example, if we look at develop, engage, and celebrate our TML team, one of those initiatives could be to develop and implement a talent management master plan for the municipality, kind of sets the rules of the road and the operating procedures and principles by which we attract, recruit, retain, develop, and succeed our municipal staff. It's these indicative initiatives that we will further work with the senior management team to flush out and bring back to council for your review and your concurrence. The reason we have indicative initiatives is, while the strategy is meant to set direction and not tell you exactly how you're going to get to the end goal, there are certain things that we do want to frame to help us understand and give management direction to kind of build out in order to make sure that there is some sort of a roadmap back towards achieving the goal that we set for ourselves under a particular strategic initiative. And so what I'd like the feedback or what feedback we'd like, Your Worship, from council on this strategic priority here is, are you comfortable with the draft strategic goals? And is there anything from a preliminary perspective around initiatives that you would say, I would like this to be considered? Can we add this so that as we work through this with the senior team, we can begin to build those out and figure out how they fit into achieving the goal?
Perfect. Thank you very much. So let's start with the top one, develop, engage, and celebrate our, what does that say? TML team?
Yeah.
So we'll start with that particular goal. There are 2 bullets next to it. Does anybody have any comments on that particular segment? Seeing none, Councillor Nishikawa and then Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, through you to you. I'm having challenges separating out, like the whole package means something to me. And my initial feelings, and I was reading this earlier, it almost feels like a roadmap for staff. Has nothing to do with the public, like other than that they're going to pay the bill. And my concern is to pay the bill. Like if we're kind of developing, if that's what, I don't know that's our plan was to do this, but I would just say, as being part of another organization that just keeps adding more and more staff, I have to be a little concerned if that is what our direction is during this whole communication.
So Chris, does this actually cover more than just the interests of staff? Does this extend up, through the organization, through our constituencies as well?
Yeah, I would argue it does, Your Worship. Core to delivering your services. Of course, you always use technology and certain tools to do that, but ultimately it comes down to having a capable, healthy, engaged workforce in order to be able to deliver the value promise inherent in the services and programs and the capital assets that you have for your residents. And I think Councillor Nishikawa's comment is fair. This is probably the most internally facing of the 3 strategic priorities, but it's there to ensure that the organization is strong and healthy. And that includes its people, but also its processes and its capabilities to do the kind of work so that you have the kind of information and the community has the information that it needs to satisfy itself that these are the right services to be delivering in the right way and that it's sustainable over the long term. So that's why, moving and becoming a performance, a performance-based organization that measures and monitors and makes adjustments based on how you're actually performing against service levels or other measures that are established, and also taking a multi-year view on the financial and kind of the operational sustainability of the programs and services and the assets that you have for the organization is there to kind of round out this strategic priority.
So if it's a 3-legged stool, the other 2, which sort of are more outwardly facing, depend on this one in order for us to execute on the first 2.
Correct.
But they're no less important. They're just focused a little differently.
Yeah.
Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you. I share Councillor Nishikawa's concern when I look at the first 2, the indicative initiatives. There's a few to-do lists there, and does that mean that we are now committing to a talent management master plan? Does that mean we're going to go out and hire a consultant and get a master plan for that? Are we going to implement it? Develop a performance management framework? I mean, if you look like it says, okay, we are committing to doing those things. I think we're maybe committing to giving those strong considerations. The way it's written here, it sounds like, check, we're going to do this. And is that fair? Is that a fair interpretation?
It's a fair comment. I'm not sure that it's a wrong interpretation. I would defer to Chris on sort of, is there a sense of urgency? To be honest with you, we may have alleviated this if this was the 3rd one we looked at. The other 2, which are more outwardly facing, the other 2 goals. But having started on this one, I mean, are we committing ourselves to developing sub-strategic plans to deal with these issues in terms of developing and measuring staff capabilities? Is that what we're doing?
So I think it's a fair comment that some of these are terribly specific. And they're some of them are just delivered to kind of help council understand where these could potentially go. And so this feedback is helpful in terms of us saying, well, actually, we want, what we want a sufficient, direction set in, but, but not so specific or prescribed that we're handcuffing ourselves in terms of the best way to make sure that we have the people and the engaged people we need to deliver services. Don't be terribly specific about a specific process, but generally communicate and set direction for, we want to enhance our ability to do enterprise business planning and be more deliberate and structured in terms of how we are taking the whole funnel of potential opportunities and really boiling them down that are strategy aligned or, aligned with legislation that then, helps us prioritize them and gets them, budgeted and resourced as appropriate. So I think it's a fair comment. Say some of these are terribly specific. Nothing you agree to today handcuffs you. This feedback for us would say we need to go back and do some more work with senior staff to say, okay, what could initiatives look like that we bring back to council, and ones that preserve flexibility in terms of ultimately the right way to get to ultimately achieving the goal, which is we want to be a place people want to work, and we want to have a healthy workforce, because we know at the end of the day, the quality of our people really does lend to how well our services are delivered and how satisfied our community is with those services.
Thank you. CAO Hammond is going to address you with a comment, and then Councillor Zabitz, and then I think Councillor McIntyre after him.
Thanks, Your Worship. When it comes to the first two initiatives, I think, the last year and this year, we just dealt with budget guidelines this morning. One of the things that we want to address is talent management. We know that there's competition for top-notch employees out there. If we want to continue to be improving in our ability to deliver top-notch services to the community and ensuring the accuracy as well as the credibility of the information that you're making decisions on, these two things are important. You also made an investment in human resources, a staff member last year, with the view to allowing Ms. Lehman to be able to accomplish broader strategic initiatives like these. So I would argue that this can be done internally. These types of plans, we already have components of them. It's a matter of wrapping them up or wrapping them together more comprehensively, as well as perhaps adding a few components to those documents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zabitz.
Thank you, through you. My concern more than anything is, I guess to Rob's earlier comment, the timing, or maybe it's not timing, it's commitment of us. And I would only go below the line to go to the next one. Develop and implement an enterprise business planning process. We don't have an economic development committee in this term of council where we had one last time. And I only use that illustratively, not trying to move along. So maybe to Chris, how do we express in these words the element of time and or the limitations of time?
So, your Councillor, what we would do, we can certainly put some indication of time, but typically the way we work with our municipal clients on this is, once we kind of have a sense of and some agreement to the goals and the associated initiatives, which sets that directionally, how we think we're going to pursue the outcomes we're looking for in the goals, is the implementation plan, where we do then look at, okay, what does one foot in front of the other look like by goal, by initiative, and what does the time frame look like for actually achieving that? Because the worst thing you can do is say, we've approved a strategic plan, now everything has to be done in the first year. And we map across, in this case, the three strategic priorities, what that staging looks like, so that the organization isn't overwhelmed and we're not, and we're putting forward a kind of a prudent approach to achieving the strategic plan over the 5-year time horizon it's expected to cover. Does that answer the question, Councillor?
Councillor McIntyre, did you have a comment?
Yeah, but I'm rethinking it. I was wondering if it wouldn't be more, again, based on Councillor Rosenworth, to, instead of having these specific things, to just say, to create an environment where we attract, recruit, retain, develop, and municipal staff for success, or something like that.
And picking up on that,
language.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
Picking up on that, I mean, I just don't like being hung to something called a talent management master plan, which I frankly have no idea what that means. But I don't mind saying to develop or maintain rigor around talent management and to develop rigor or maintain aggressive, what's the second one? Performance management techniques. What that may result in a master plan, but it may not too. It doesn't necessarily have to. And it gives us the luxury of trying to figure out what we need to do, given what we have and where we're going, and what we can afford. Councillor Mazin.
Okay, thank
That'd be
you.
you.
Yeah. Through you. Interesting, as I'm listening to this, I think it would even help to say the first thing, we are in the business of delivering our services to our community, whatever those services may be. It's having the roads passable, plowed, it's having people being able to swim, the beach is clean, whatever the services may be. As a starting point, we're trying to determine the what. How we deliver those services is primarily through human resources. So it almost just, I would even flip how this is ordered, because that's what we are in the business of doing. And it requires people to do each of these different services, whatever they may be. And I would agree with what Mayor Kelly was just saying. I think we can reframe this to say, the most important thing I think we can do in the township is not only understand the service delivery we're in, let's just determine that standard that we're going to deliver. Let's commit to doing that with excellence. And the only way we can do that is by having the best possible talent we can within the township. How are we going to make sure we deliver against the best possible township staff or people? The talent is by doing the following three things, which I would describe as the rigor, like the recruit, train, manage, motivate, whatever it may be. So.
Did you get all that, Chris?
I did. And so this makes a lot of sense. And so what we'd move to is, instead of, specific initiatives, what we might move is to what I call outcomes language. So this goal is to generate this outcome, which is, or is to be so, so be more rigorous and deliberate about, our talent management or whatever the language may be. And that preserves maximum flexibility for you and staff to figure out how you best go about doing that without attaching you to a specific a commitment, but it still kind of sets the direction that staff need and the community needs to understand in terms of what it is you're trying to achieve and for what purpose.
Thank you. CEO Hammond has something.
Thanks, Your Worship. Perhaps a bit of a rhetorical question, but I recall members of council wanting to be able to attribute performance measures to be able to measure success. And if we're keeping things more generally, I'm not sure how we're going to be able to measure success, and perhaps that's something that Mr. Loreto would comment on. Thank you.
I mean, what I would say, Your Worship, through you to the CAO, is there is if we come up with the right kind of outcome, again, outcome language related to the goals in terms of what it is, the direction we're setting as to how we're going to get to that goal, we can set up measures. So let's just keep on the talent management piece. Certainly, we want to be able to attract, recruit, retain, develop, and succeed our people and ensure we have a healthy, engaged workforce. What we can do is work with the senior team and council to say, okay, what are the two or three measures that will tell us if we're doing that? Staff engagement, percentage of staff who say they're engaged based on an employee engagement survey we might run every couple of years. We can track, in terms of, turnover rates. There are a number of things that we can get to be able to have performance indicators set next to them. And so I'm saying we can have our cake and eat it too. But it then puts the pressure on the operational or the business planning to be able to say how a specific way to execute against a priority and a goal will actually help drive performance against those measures.
Thank you. We have a hand up from CAO to B. Pink.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. I certainly the discussion is very helpful, and I'm not trying to abbreviate it, but just to focus back, if council looks at the actual recommendation, we're not approving the preliminary initiatives at this time. You're endorsing or approving in principle the vision, mission, and values. The strategic leadership team has yet to work on or even review these initiatives. That's part of the next steps that you'll note in the report. So we will come back to you with this revised document and a revised set of initiatives. So that may help move this along.
It does help. Thank you. Okay, anyone with another comment on this? Yeah, no. All right. I don't see any more comments on this page. So if you want to flip to the next strategic objective.
So the next priority being enhance the town's natural and cultural environments. 3 goals here. Strengthen our community framework for sustainable local development. There are a number of things that were identified in the workshop around the comprehensive zoning bylaw, updating the site plan control bylaw, leveraging local and regional relationships to be able to, have common cause in response to climate change and other things that are affecting the natural environment in the municipality. The second goal is lead and partner for long-term watershed protection. And again, this is a really a specific initiative that actually is pulled forward or pulled into the new plan from the current plan around continuing to take local and regional action to preserve and protect that watershed, and ensuring the water quality. And then the third goal is engage and partner with the community to enhance the Township of Muskoka Lake's cultural heritage. And that some of the things we talked about is everything from strengthening bylaw enforcement to adhere to the policies that we have in place already, and also taking the time to really talk to residents and visitors of the relationship of what they do here and how that positively or adversely impacts the ability to preserve and enhance the natural environment of the community.
Thank you. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. So, we're not really good at a bunch of these items, right? This is us sitting around fireside chat, looking at this document, and it's almost like a wish list. I mean, we haven't done great with climate change. We really haven't done, how do we protect water quality within our township? We don't do well at that. And I guess what I'm looking at here is, I'm not so sure that we've captured the spirit of, these are our strategic priorities. I'm not sure we have the tools. I guess what I'm saying is, can we craft some tools into here? We're gonna need more detail than this. So this is very general. And I'm not sure how we'd achieve it, what the measurement criteria would be.
Good question, Councillor Mazan.
Thank you, and through you. I'm just wondering, given staff haven't had a chance to look at this, are we to anticipate perhaps after they've had a view at this to have a revised set of things to look at and discuss to avoid wordsmithing by committee? Or
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're suggesting perhaps we focus on the strategic goal, but leave the big boxes of indicative initiatives to till staff has a chance to work through them. Is that what you're thinking? Councillor Mazan?
yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you were asking Director Fink.
To you, but Director Pink, is that what you were thinking too?
Correct. I think generally speaking, council sets the goal. Let staff tell you maybe how to get there, and we'll come back and propose those initiatives to you.
So Chris, that's fine. If we focus to the column on the left, the 3 boxes.
Absolutely.
And we'll await input from staff on the others.
Yes.
So let's just confine ourselves to those 3. Does that change your position, Councillor Zavitz?
Well, the first one I'm good with, but the second one, I just don't understand how we do that. How do we lead and partner a long-term watershed protection? We just don't have any of the tools. not to be a fatalist, but I mean, we can, no, I'll just leave it with that.
Counselor Burry, you look like you were going to say something. No? Okay. Okay, that's fair. Anyone else have a comment? From my perspective, if we don't set goals we can't currently do, we're not really setting goals. Well, you know, if we don't have a vision for what needs to be done and use all the other corresponding things to develop the tools and the resources to go after them. When it comes to the watershed protection one, be careful because you never know who's watching, but it's kind of a race to the bottom. I mean, nobody's doing what I think is an adequate job. There's lots of room for somebody to step in and do better. Okay. I think everybody's asleep, I think, Chris.
Sorry about
No,
that.
and
Sorry,
Apologize.
Counselor Burry's back.
He's back. He's woke
awake.
up. No, I think, you know, they have to be within our control. Like we can work towards goals, but having goals that you don't have the ability to control, you know, I mean, and control is a bit of an illusion. I get it. We can do better with the watershed, but you know, we're going to have to partner with a lot of other groups in order to make an impact. What we can control is the amount of hardscaping and things that are in our township. So things that are within planning control and within building control, to make at least what we're contributing to the problem to be minimized.
I think you're absolutely right. But most of the result will come from work done further upstream that's beyond our jurisdiction, beyond our control.
Agreed, but we start up in Canoe Lake, where some of us have spent a great deal of time, and they're limited to 20 horsepower, and they have no asphalt, and they don't use chemicals. They're not allowed gas lawnmowers anymore. There's no whippersnippers. You can only chainsaw at certain times. It has become a very strict part of the watershed. So at least until we get to Dwight, you know, which is at least 3 days away. So, you know, we can focus on what we can focus on and other jurisdictions have. And I think, but we're going to have to work with everybody and continue to work with those downstream firms.
Fair enough. Councilor Mazan.
Thank you, and through you. I think that the strategic goal is still relevant, lead and partner for long-term watershed protection, because I think the moment we walk away from it as even being a goal, I mean, we might as well throw up our hands and pick nature right out of our priority and our vision. So personally, I think it needs to be in there still. I think it's worthy of the fight. So I would support having it in there still. And my only other next comment would be, not to belabor this point, but just ensure that it's natural, culture, and recreational environments, or however that language is.
Yep.
Just that kind of gets pulled throughout the whole document.
Councilor Zavitz.
Thank you. Through you, I could see aggressively partner for long-term watershed protection. Aggressively partner. I don't know how this township leads. Unless we put it in the budget and we allocate $3 million to leading and watershed protection in our township.
Fair comment.
Your worship,
Unfortunately, I don't think-
I've always understood the leadership to be less that and more, you know, stepping up to convene the various partners, and to organize the various partners around watershed protection, advocating with senior levels of government on the need for action, those types of things. So I just my 2 cents. I've never heard it in terms of us, of the township kind of carrying the fiscal freight for watershed protection.
Anybody else with a comment? No? Okay, I don't know how to deliver that up to you, Chris.
No,
You
I
heard
mean, if I summarize it, your worship, as comfort with the goals, and consistent with our discussion on the first pillar, we're going to move from, you know, specific initiatives to formulating outcome statements that can be measured, so that we provide the appropriate direction without saying specifically how we're going to get there to preserve flexibility. But I think if that's correct, your worship will proceed on that basis.
I think that's great. Thank you very much. I can't remember. This is 2 of 3. We got one more.
Yes, we're on the last one. I promise. The third, this next priority is strengthen the township's community fabric. 3 goals here: strengthen our sense of community by promoting the township of Muskoka Lake brand, and that's all about undertaking proactive communications and proactive community engagement initiatives to talk about the township, its story, and to recognize and celebrate its community builders. So celebrating the folks who are doing great things to build community in the township. The second goal is around creating the conditions to diversify local housing options. And this is about, again, as it's stated, making sure that people who want to live, work, and play here have the opportunity to do that in the township, including looking to work with the District of Muskoka to secure senior level government funding to make sure that there's available, affordable, and attainable housing in the township as well. The third goal is around securing better value from the district. And this is ostensibly about updating and continuing to work the township's inter-tier engagement and advocacy strategy to get a better value from its fiscal and governance relationship with the district. And the last goal here is resource and implement the township's approved master plans. Really just a recognition that we have created and we have a suite of master plans that we need to take a look at and think through. And again, this is where the walk back to that first pillar around that multi-year view of planning, both financially and operationally, is important because you spend good money on those master plans. They have important ambitions. Now it's time to think about how do we actually stage those in a way that is sustainable and it helps us achieve our community building goals inherent in those master plans.
Thank you for that. Anyone with comments on either of those 4 goals? No comments there, Chris. Looks good.
Or we just wore people out, your worship.
Yeah. Councillor Bosenworth.
I want to voice that I do think it's, we've got a great opportunity in front of us. We now have a communication specialist, and this whole idea of undertaking a proactive communication for community engagement and I think there's a number of messages we can do that will enhance the township's visibility to its constituents. I think there's an opportunity to be more vocal about our successes and let our constituents know that we are doing what they elected us to do. We're all in this room quite proud of the things that we're achieving, but we do not boast about it. And the achievements help set the tone of our community. And if we can get that out, then, you know, some of the non-compliance problems we have might go away because they're just not considered appropriate to do and people just say that's not what this township is, and we need more of that. And I think there's a huge opportunity there.
I think that's the definition of leadership. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. Councillor.
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to echo what Councillor Bosenworth said. We've got to boast on our achievements. We've done a lot, both, you know, on some subjects that maybe we shouldn't boast about, but it'll show value that we are making a difference behind this, even though that you think we're not.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I think that one's pretty straightforward.
That's great. So your worship, that brings us to conclusion. We'll work on the changes. We'll do our workshop with the senior staff to think through the outcomes that we're looking to achieve for each of the draft strategic goals and bring back a refined draft before we go out to the community for council's agreement in principle, if that works.
I think that works just fine. I'm seeing generally around the table, everybody's giving a thumbs up. So thank you for your time. And we have a resolution, but I don't think we have anything else to change there, but thank you both. Thank you, Olivia, as well. for your focus on this, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, I do have a resolution that I'm going to read. If I can get everybody back here. I'm going to read a resolution, and then I think we do have some amendments based on some of the conversation that we had. Moved by Councillor Zabit, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that council approve in principle the proposed vision, mission, and values, as well as the proposed strategic priorities and goals as outlined and recommended in Appendix 1 to Report CAO-2024-001, and that staff be directed to seek further public input on the draft strategic plan, and that staff report back with a final strategic plan, including all feedback from council, staff, and the public, as well as measurable indicative initiatives for all strategic goals outlined. So that was the way it was drafted based on the conversation. We're going to read this next.
I think that's what he wants.
So we'll have to make sure that this gathers the kinds of amendments we proposed and agreed to, I think, during the last 45 minutes. And this is a separate resolution moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that the resolution be substituted as follows. The council approve in principle the proposed mission and values, as well as the proposed strategic priorities and goals as outlined and recommended in Appendix 1 to Report CAO-2024-001 with the suggestions and changes noted at the July 10, 2024 Council. And that prior to seeking further input from the public, a draft vision statement be brought back to the next council meeting for approval in principle, and that staff be directed to then seek further public input on the draft strategic plan, and that staff report back with a final draft strategic plan, including all feedback from council, staff, and the public, as well as measurable indicative initiatives for all strategic goals outlined. A lot of words. Councillor Bosenworth.
Should it be vision and mission? We gave input on both vision and mission.
For you, just for clarification, then you would like to see the vision and mission come back? Because I did hear with the mission that there was some very specific just wording changes and you liked number 2.
Right.
So I believe that was the direction that was provided today. You liked number 2, right. Very specific, reduced wording, but you wanted to see the mission.
Fair enough.
If you're looking for both to come back, we can do that, but we'll just reflect that here.
Councillor Mazan.
Thank you. I would support having the mission coming back too, because I think there was discussion on taking out innovation. We had a bit of a discussion around that. So that's the mission. So I would say, I would support, I think, what Councillor Bosenworth was saying.
Was that? I don't think innovation was in the.
Innovation was one of our mission, was it? Or no, that was our values. See, we're tired. Is it break time? Sorry.
I think that's covered by what we've got in here, I think. Yeah. Sorry.
Only 2 minutes.
Sorry, we need 2 minutes? Okay, we need 2 minutes to make a quick change.
To get it up on the screen.
Oh, to get it up on the screen. Sorry, no change to this. No, that's fine. I think we got it covered. Yeah. Yeah. What's on the screen now is the new resolution that I just read, but there it is for you to have a look at and make sure you're comfortable with it as it's presented. Is it all there? Yeah, it's all there. Okay, anybody who's read it, anybody have any comments or questions, or are we going to just move forward with it as it's presented? I don't hear any or see any change. So I've read this. Any comments or questions on this last mission? It's no longer there anymore, but anybody have any comments? I see none. Then I'm going to call the question on that one, right? I've read it. On the substitution, the one that was just up there. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. And then the second question is to call the question on the original one that I read as substituted by the new one. All in favor? And that carries as well. Thank you very much. Okay. So we're moving down the list here. We're gonna go through, if I'm not mistaken, what did I miss over here? Oh, that was all done. I got that a little out of order. Derek already did this. I think, did you? Yeah, that was handled. So we're on the consent agenda matter. And it is a resolution. And I think, yeah, one of you was going to leave, if I'm not mistaken. Or we can all leave and do it the vote in the kitchen. All right, so I'll read the resolution moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact the following minutes and recommendations contained in the July 10, 2024 consent agenda and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. Number 1, June 12, 2024 General Finance Committee minutes and action items 1 through 5. Number 2, June 12, 2024 council minutes. Number 3, June 13, 2024 Planning Committee minutes and action items 1 through 14, with the exception of action item 15 to be pulled and voted on separately. And number 4, June 18, 2024 special council minutes. Any comments, feedback? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. And then to clean up that last one, we have. All right, is she off on this one too? Okay. I'll just wait till she's back so she can hear the resolution being read. Okay. This one is moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. It's number 3, June 13, 2024 Planning Committee minutes, action item 15. Be it resolved that an open house be scheduled with various community groups, volunteers, and residents to discuss how to best celebrate and promote the cultural heritage of the township. Now, this was pulled, but I can't remember exactly the reason. Councillor Bosenworth, did you have it?
Yeah, it got pulled, and the main reason that we were thinking about pulling it was because I think we didn't give nice, clear or very clear direction to staff about what exactly the objective of pulling these things together was. And the suggestion is that we delay thinking about that and include it when we have our strategic plan more filled out, and we can include that as perhaps an initiative under the strategic plan, because we've got lots of focus on heritage, natural heritage, as well as cultural heritage, and that might be the better place to have that discussion.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody have any other?
We would defeat this.
It's defeat it.
Or get advice from their clerk on what to do.
Presumably, yeah. Anyone, any other comments on the reason it was pulled and the idea that the best bet might be to postpone? Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through you, I believe my concern would be when. Like, when are we going to visit this? I guess is because now finally we visited it a little bit, and I just wondered
Yep,
I just don't
good
want to
point.
wait till the end of the year to find out we're now going to visit again.
All right, so I'll open it back up to Councillor Bosenworth. Was your suggestion at the end of the strategic planning exercise?
Yeah, I think as part, through you, I think as part of our strategic plan, we can determine how we want to enhance our cultural heritage. And this is one that we've already talked about and therefore should come to the top of the list.
Councillor Mazan.
Thank you. And through you, actually, as I'm thinking this through, because you're right, it is embedded in our draft anyways of our strategic plan, but we want to enhance priority. Maybe I could ask Director Pink, would this be the type of action or that would be contemplated by staff in an implementation plan to come back with, so staff would be able to incorporate some kind of approach just to help us understand how this could actually get incorporated to address the timing piece?
Certainly, staff's happy to come back with a further report, looking again, essentially for the what I think that we were trying to achieve last time. Another option is, I think, as we saw during the strategic plan discussion, there is reference to enhancing and protecting the cultural heritage, and staff will be looking at those initiatives. And we could, through those initiatives, touch on, obviously we will touch on this topic, whether it's to the extent you're looking for, I guess remains to be seen, but we could try to tackle in that direction.
Thank you. I think that to me would satisfy and probably is the better and more appropriate spot, because now we're actually shining a more enhanced light on it through the strat plan. And okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so if the idea is to postpone it, is this the postpone? Or is it postpone? I've got an additional resolution on this one, which calls to have that item postponed until such time as the strategic plan has been finalized. Does that still make sense? Okay. All right, so let me read this one first. Postponement, you don't? Yeah, I'm gonna do it in the right order. Okay, so I'm gonna read this one first, moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that June 13, 2024 Planning Committee Minutes Action Item 15 be postponed until such time as the strategic plan has been finalized. Any comments? All right, I'll call a question on this one. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And I do have to don't do anything with this. I read it. Okay, thank you. All right, so we've gotten through the consent agenda items. I don't know, does anybody need 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Or soldier on? We're all right, carry on. Okay, what do we got next? Community Center Hall Boards. This is item 11A. Deputy Clerk, is the clerk going to speak to this issue?
Through you, the report is there in front of you. This is just to appoint 2 members to the Milford Bay Community Hall. If you would like to discuss them in detail, we do need to do that in closed session, but if you're happy with everything, then you can just go ahead and pass this resolution.
I see no one indicating they want to discuss it in close, so we will read the resolution now. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that citizen members be appointed to Community Center Hall Boards as detailed in confidential memo CCS-2024-16, and that confidential memo CCS-2024-16 hereby be made public. Any comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. All right, next issue. This is Scarcliffe. You're leaving? Thank you. We have Mr. through Scarcliffe Road and Marquee Lane.
Hello. Hey, good afternoon. So the report for council today is for the award of a contract for the reconstruction of Scarcliffe Road and Marquee Lane, as well as authorization for contract administration and inspection services for the work. The scope of the work to be completed under the project is pulverization of the road surface, culvert replacements, earth and rock ditching, subgrade repairs, rock blasting and removal, and double surface treatment and hot mix paving. And the tender included completion of safety improvements to improve sightlines at the intersection of Markey Lane and Scarcliffe Road, as well as road widenings at the hill down the lake near the end of the township maintained portion of Scarcliffe Road. There was also a provisional or optional work to realign and improve sightlines at a substandard curve on Scarcliffe Road. It's just before Markey Lane, and it was included in the tender. The bid prices have come in, and they are above the approved capital budgets for both projects. The reason for that is the detailed engineer's estimate was not available at the time of the budget submission last year, and estimates were based on a linear per kilometer aggregated unit rate, with some assumptions made on the scope of the work and not upon the actual quantified scope of work. The bid prices, it's worth noting the bid prices that have come in are lower than the engineer's estimate that was completed for the work prior to tendering. So staff are recommending that council approve the tender award to the lowest bidder, but without the optional work, as well as extending the existing design contract to include contract admin and inspection services for the project. The optional work at the corner just before Markey Lane comes with significant cost. So staff are recommending as an alternate solution to not proceed with this work and install warning signage in compliance with the Ontario Traffic Manual. The thinking is this will provide a cost-effective solution that will apply a consistent standard that's used by municipalities across Ontario. The budget overage is proposed to be funded via draw from the road reserves. Staff are confident that these funds can be returned to the reserves using the existing allocated capital roads budget due to savings that we expect on other projects. And with that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Nishikawa.
Just quickly, through you to Tim. So the road surface as it is, original road surface or whatever, are we changing the service level on that road? Like as in, we might have paved the whole thing in the past and now we're doing the tip tar, whatever the surface treatment is.
So through you to the answer to it, we're not changing the service level. There is a significant grade at the very end of the road, a paved hill, which we do have to use hot mix because surface treatment won't stay in that location. Cars will just spin out and tear it all up. But other than that, it's staying at the existing service level.
Councillor Roberts.
I had heard that there was, first of all, thank you for your excellent interfacing with the community. I've heard it was great and they really appreciate it. There was a question that I didn't, about an extra culvert that was going to be added to help run off of water at the bottom of the hill. Is that?
Yes, and through you again, we have had some discussions with the road association president has reached out to us, and we're having some discussions on that. It is we've actually had a consultant. I heard from them today. We're seeking out costs on that. There is a contingency in the project to help deal with these type of things. Construction, we try to plan for everything. Things come up, things change. We have to make some adjustments, and it can be accommodated within the budget if we do after reviewing the scope of the work and the need. It can be accommodated.
Okay. Anyone else with a comment, question? All right. I want to read a resolution. It's long. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that council award contract T-2024-23 to Weeks Construction, Inc. for the contract price of $845,712.50 plus HST, and that the existing design contract for T-2024-23 with Tatham Engineering Ltd. Be extended to provide contract administration and construction inspection services at the estimated price of $43,587.50 plus HST, and that the approved capital budget for the Scarcliffe Road project be increased by $146,600 to a total of $714,100 to be funded from the Roads, Bridges, and Major Infrastructure Reserve Fund, and that the approved capital budget for the Marquee Lane project be increased by $100,300 to a total of $175,200 to be funded from the Roads, Bridges, and Major Infrastructure Reserve Fund, and that the Director of Operational Services be authorized to execute the necessary documents to proceed with this contract. Anybody got any other questions or comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tim. Good job. Okay. We'll carry on. I believe the next one is zoning bylaw under the name Doherty. Is that correct? Halls Road. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. On June 13th, 2024, Planning Committee made a recommendation to Council to approve ZBA 3623, Bylaw 2023-129 in the name of Doherty, subject to third reading being withheld until such a time as the steel frame tarp shelter is removed as intended and site plan control is imposed to require an amendment to Site Plan Agreement 7620 to revegetate the site and address the removal of fill within the Environmental Protection Zone and Environmental Protection Zone buffer as identified by Riverstone Environmental Solutions impact study dated July 31st, 2023. Since last month's Planning Committee meeting, the steel frame tarp shelter has not been removed. However, as the proposed development has not been approved, and the only exemption being approved through the application is to recognize the setback of an existing leaching bed distribution pipe, there is likely little incentive for the applicant to remove the shelter. As a result, the removal of the shelter is something that can be addressed through bylaw enforcement. The Township's Bylaw Enforcement Division is aware of the situation, and staff would recommend that the third reading of the bylaw be given today. In essence, the removal of the steel frame tarp shelter can be addressed through enforcement. And the proposed bylaw as recommended by Planning Committee can be approved. It is noted that there is a site-specific planning control bylaw on today's agenda for the property. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from council. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I have not read the resolution, so we have questions. Councillor Burry.
Thank you. Through you. Is this a bylaw infraction or a planning act infraction? The removal of the shed. You're asking us to waive, to go to third reading, and yet the folks have not complied. And so, and you're saying it can be enforced through bylaw, but is it an infringement of bylaw, a bylaw, township bylaw, or a planning act? Because those are two very different numbers.
Director Pink. Oh, sorry, we're being given the hold up. What was the question? No, we've got a technical issue maybe. No? Oh, bringing people in. No, it's not technical issue. We're bringing people in. Yeah, you might as well go ahead, Director Pink.
Thank you. Through you. It is a violation of the zoning bylaw, which is passed by the municipality under the Planning Act. So I don't know if that helps clarify, but in essence, what we're saying is in large part, maybe the simpler way to put it, I think council is largely defeating the request. The applicant came before you looking for a garage. That request was refused or is recommended to be refused. So there's really no incentive for them to do these additional steps. So if we withhold third reading waiting for that, I suspect this bylaw will just sit with two readings for indefinitely. So what we're suggesting to you is really what you're approving is just a historical situation. We're comfortable with that, and staff's confident that we can deal with the remaining issues as we do normal course if there happen to not be a planning application. So that, I think, hopefully helps clarify.
Does that prompt any other questions, Director?
No, but
Councillor
I'd just like to thank Director Pink for reframing that for us. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, then I will read the resolution unless we have any other questions. No? All right. This is 1 and 2, right? Yes. Moved by Councillor Zabit, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2023-129 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Doherty, roll number 4-11-097, be read a first and second time. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. And now we have one more. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, second by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2023-129 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Doherty, roll number 4-11-097, be read a third time and finally passed. Any questions? Councillor Bosenworth. Or comments? Could be a comment.
Yeah, so.
Your microphone.
Yes, thank you. If we pass it, do we, so I think, I just want to make sure that we get the right outcome here. I think is it that we are allowing him to do it and therefore we should be denying it?
I can go back to Director Pink, but from what I understand, once we pass this, there's an issue of compliance. Go ahead.
No, but he will not get his, I mean, he had a planning request to build a garage. Are we to deny, is this denying of that? I just can't remember what the original, was the original one denying it and therefore we agree with denying it, or should we be voting no or yes on this resolution to make this happen?
Director
That's the
Pink
question.
going to help us with
Sorry.
Yes, hopefully to help clarify. So the initial request was really in essence to build a garage. Through the review of the application, staff discovered that their longstanding septic system didn't comply with setbacks. So we're just trying to clean up that situation. The recommendation was that exactly. So the draft bylaw on the agenda is just to approve the location of the sewage disposal system solely. So we're suggesting to you would vote in favor of that. That would align with the planning committee recommendation.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? And I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Beamish, and Ms. Crowder is coming up, I think, for the next one, if I'm not mistaken. And this one's Douglas and Zwazwa.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. Good afternoon, members of council. I've been saying it Zua, so I'm not sure. I don't know, though. You may be very correct. As council may recall, zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 2224 in the name of Douglas and Zua was submitted to repeal site-specific bylaw 2010-110 and to permit necessary exemptions to redevelop a two-story boathouse. On June 13th, 2024, Planning Committee recommended to Council that the application be approved subject to the following. That third reading be withheld until such time as the floating dock discovered during staff site visit be removed or confirmed as compliant with applicable zoning provisions, and that the bylaw be revised to restrict the height of the boathouse to that which has been proposed. Since the Planning Committee meeting last month, the agent has submitted photos to the township demonstrating that the floating dock has been removed. As such, staff no longer recommend that third reading of the bylaw be withheld today. Staff have no further comments, but are happy to assist council with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? Councilor Nishikawa?
Thank you. While I appreciate the photos, this is to you though. I'm wondering if anyone actually went and physically. I just know, for instance, that I have experienced where another property owner will tie up a dock around the corner for a while. So I'm just wondering if staff were able to have their own physical.
If that was to
integration.
me, I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Crowder.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Kelly, to Councillor Nishikawa. I have not been on site to verify this myself, but I did receive some photos that seem to demonstrate that the dock has been removed. And we did also receive photos of the attempts that the agent and applicant took to find out whose dock this is. This is a case where the dock sort of floated ashore over the winter. And they did send us photos of them putting notices in all the neighbors' doors and stuff. So personally, I'm not too concerned about this one, but again, we'll leave it to you. If you want to withhold third reading today, we can do that and have a staff member go to site. So we'll leave that decision with you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from anyone or comments? All right, I've got two resolutions. I'll read the first. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-075 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Douglas and Zua, roll number 2-9-037-01, be read a first and second time. Any comments or questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And that's you. And then I've got third reading one, and that is moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-075 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Douglas and Zua, roll number 2-9-037-01, be read a third time and finally passed. Anybody with any comment, question? Then I'll call it. All in favor? That carries as well. Thank you. Ms. Crowder, you're back for this one too, are you? Welcome back. Oh yeah, the same one. Carry on.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. As council may recall, consent applications B596022ML and zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1524 in the name of Bluff Road Point Corporation were submitted concurrently to sever and add land to an abutting lot and to create one new waterfront residential lot, to rezone severed lot 1 to WR5, and to permit necessary exemptions to exceed the number of permitted habitable buildings on a lot in order to permit 2 sleeping cabins on severed lot 2 and to recognize the cumulative width of existing shoreline structures on the retained lot. On June 13th, 2024, Planning Committee recommended to Council that consent applications B5922ML, being the lot addition, be approved subject to standard conditions and that severed lot 1 be rezoned to WR5. Planning Committee further recommended that consent application B6022ML, being the application to create one new waterfront residential lot, be approved, subject to standard conditions, and that the existing dwellings, dock, and boathouse on severed lot 2 be removed, that severed lot 2 be made subject to site plan control for future development, and that the lands be rezoned to permit exemptions from maximum cumulative dock and single-story boathouse width requirements for the retained lot. The consent portions of these applications were approved earlier today. But lastly, Planning Committee recommended to Council that zoning bylaw amendment application be approved. I have no further comments at this time, but I'm happy to assist Council with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-073 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Bluff Road Point Corporation, roll number 4-15-035 be read a first and second time. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And another one moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-073 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Bluff Road Point Corporation, roll number 4-15-035, be read a third time and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries as well. Thank you. Okay, no presentation on the next one, which is Appleton Broadley, right? Okay, no presentation on this one. I'll read the resolution moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-074 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Appleton roll number 8-1-090 be ready first and second time. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-074 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Appleton, roll number 8-1-090, be ready third time and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. No presentation on this one. Oh, Michelle, you're not presenting, but you're going to be here for questions. Is that how you want to do it? Okay. This is this one, B1. Okay, B1 is a resolution that I'm going to read. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that blocks A and B on Plan M-499-roll number 4-12-30-11 in the Township of Muskoka Lakes in the District Municipality of Muskoka be declared as surplus lands. And that bylaw 2024-071 to authorize the disposal of the said property be given 3 readings and finally passed, and that proceeds from the disposal of blocks A and B on Plan M-499-roll number 4-12-30-11 be allocated to a township reserve fund as determined by staff. Any questions? Councillor Burry.
Thank you. Through you, a general question. We're given the roll number, but we don't get a map. So in order for some of us that actually want to see what we're disposing of, we have to go through GeoHub and make a whole lot of extra work. Is there any technical reason why we cannot include a site map for any and all of these applications?
Excellent question. I am not going to answer. Ms. Story.
Great question. I think in this particular situation, we brought the bylaw forward, but that's something that we can definitely consider going forward. If there is not an accompanying report, to include something like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bosenworth.
I apologize if I missed something, but where is this property? Was it included?
You did miss that.
Did I? Was it? No. So do we know where it is? I mean, you can't get it from roll numbers. I mean, I don't know how to get it from roll numbers.
Sorry, Councillor Story. Yeah, Councillor Story, go ahead.
Your worship. This is the vacant property. It does not have a civic address that the township owns off of 1805 Peninsula Road.
AKA.
We've dealt with this. Yeah.
Right.
Riverdale Road.
It's okay. We'll leave it alone. That's good. Anyone with other questions or comments? Have I read the resolution? Yes, I did, didn't I? Yes. Okay, then I'm going to call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. It's important for clearing conflicts to know where the. Okay, no presentation on this one. Okay. All right, I have another resolution. This is B2. Oh, yeah. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024 -005 being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer for the corporation of the Township of Muskoka Lakes be ready first, second, and third time, and finally passed. He's not voting. Let's see if we can scrape it together a half a dozen votes on this. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And through you. So if we don't vote for this,
we remember. Yes, sir, Councillor Bosenworth.
Shouldn't we remove third reading just in case we're not sure?
For 90 days. Okay, this is serious stuff. We got to get along with this guy. Any other real questions? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carries, and my hand was up first. Congratulations. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So we got more? We got one more here. B3, and no presentation on this one. All right, moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-078 being a bylaw to deem lots 70 and 71 on plan M-67 in the former township of Medora, now in the township of Muskoka Lakes District, Municipality of Muskoka, being lots on a plan of subdivision are hereby deemed not to be lots on a plan of subdivision for the purposes of section 50 sub 3 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, bracket Fortin and White, rule number 4-7-065. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Any discussion, questions, comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right. And then I think we're on this one. Yep. Okay. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-078 to designate site plan control 1035 Halls Road, part of lots 19 and 20, concession 7, more particularly described as part 2, plan RD-915 Medora, Doherty, roll number 4-11-097, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay. All right, next up. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved, the council in closed session convene at 3:26 p.m. Okay, so we'll just skip right over it. For litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals, section 239 sub 2 sub E of the Municipal Act 2001. And that relates to confidential report CCS 2024-17. And C, now B, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals, section 239 sub 2 sub E of the Municipal Act 2001, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, section 239 sub 2 sub F of the Municipal Act 2001. And that relates to confidential verbal report from the Director of Development Services and Environmental Sustainability. All right. All in favor? So we are in closed. Thank you.